as President Donald Trump, his former lawyer insists, he was directed by his boss to make hush money payments during the 2016 presidential campaign. Speaking after he was sentenced to prison for campaign finance and fraud crimes, Michael Cohen told ABC News, "He directed me to make the payments. Nothing at the Trump organization was ever done unless it was run through Mr. Trump," he said. The president has denied ever asking Cohen to make illegal payments. "He was a lawyer and he is supposed to know the law," Mr. Trump tweeted on Thursday, suggesting Cohen had pleaded guilty to embarrass the president. "I never directed Michael Cohen to break the law. He was a lawyer and he is supposed to know the law. It is called advice of counsel, and a lawyer has great liability if a mistake is made. That is why they get paid, despite that many campaign finance lawyers have strongly." End of Twitter post by @real Donald Trump. Cohen
52
was sentenced to 3 years on Wednesday and must report to prison by 6 March. He admitted to lying to Congress, campaign finance violations, and tax evasion. In addition to the jail term, he was also ordered to forfeit nearly $2 m.
6米
He is the first of Mr. Trump's inner circle to be jailed following special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into alleged Russian meddling in the 2016 presidential election. He was asked in the ABC News interview about money paid to 2 women to keep quiet about alleged affairs with the presidential candidate. Mr. Trump was very concerned about how this would affect the election. Cohen said the purpose of the payments had been to help Trump and his campaign. He added, "People of the United States of America, people of the world, do not believe what he is saying." Cohen continued, "The man does not tell the truth, and it is sad that I should take responsibility for his dirty deeds." The sentencing was related to 2 separate cases brought by the Southern District of New York and the Mueller investigation. Cohen pleaded guilty to campaign finance violations for his role in making hush money payments regarding the 2 women, porn actress Stormy Daniels and former Playboy model Karen McDougal. He confessed to making a
130美元
$000 payment to Ms. Daniels and arranging for a $150
000
payment to Ms. McDougal. Prosecutors argued successfully that these payments amounted to illegal campaign contributions. Under US law, an individual donation cannot exceed
2美元 700
Mr. Trump has acknowledged both payments were made despite denying having actual affairs, and has called them a private transaction unrelated to his election campaign. Cohen's other convictions for tax evasion and bank fraud are unrelated to the president. Cohen also admitted to making false statements to Congress about a property deal Mr. Trump was looking into in Moscow in the run-up to the 2016 election. A 7-year-old girl who illegally crossed the Mexico-US border with family died hours after being taken into custody. United States officials say the Guatemalan girl, who arrived in the US last week as part of a group of migrants, died of dehydration and shock. The Washington Post reports AP news agency close border officials as saying she had not had food or water for several days. Thousands of migrants have traveled from Central America to the United States border. The migrants say they are fleeing persecution, poverty, and violence in their home countries of Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Many of them say their goal is to settle in the US despite warnings by United States officials that anyone found entering the country illegally will face arrest, prosecution, and deportation. The United States Border Patrol confirmed that an unaccompanied girl aged 7 had died after experiencing fever and seizures while in its custody for 8 hours on Thursday of last week. The girl, whose nationality was not given, was flown to a hospital in El Paso, where she suffered cardiac arrest and died within 24 hours. A Department of Homeland Security spokesperson sent condolences to the girl, its relatives, saying as Border Patrol always takes care of individuals in their custody and does everything in their power to keep them safe. Unfortunately, despite our best efforts and the best efforts of the medical team treating the child, we were unable to stop this tragedy from occurring, the spokesperson added. Once again, we are begging parents to not put themselves or their children at risk attempting to enter illegally. On Thursday, the Washington Post reported that the girl had died after being detained along with her father. Tension has been running high on the US-Mexican border since the arrival of almost 700 migrants in recent weeks. Last month, as border agents used tear gas on a crowd of migrants, including children, trying to cross the border, the agents said that personnel had been assaulted and hit by stones. However, critics accused the Trump administration of a draconian response, while Mexico demanded an investigation into the incident. The migrants have traveled in large groups, duck caravans, for more than
4,000 km 500
miles from Central America. Among them are many families with young children. Donald Trump has vowed to keep each migrant on the Mexican side of the border until courts have decided their cases, meaning some face a long wait. They have been spending time in temporary shelters in the Mexican border city of Tijuana and New Mexicali,
180千米
to the east. They as passenger plane traveling from Seattle to Dallas was forced to turn back hours into its flight because a human heart had been left on board. Southwest Airlines says the organ was flown to Seattle from California, where it was to be processed at a hospital to have a valve recovered for future use, but it was never unloaded and its absence was not noticed until the plane was almost halfway to Dallas. The heart itself had not been intended for a specific patient. Details of the incident, which occurred on Sunday, were reviewed in media reports. On Thursday, passengers were said to have been shocked when the captain told them about the cargo and why the flight was turning back. Some used their smartphones to investigate the length of time that a heart can be stored before it is no longer viable for a transplant operation, typically between 4 and 6 hours. According to experts, the plane was reportedly in the air for about 3 hours. A doctor, who was among the passengers but not involved in the shipment of the organ, told the Seattle Times newspaper that the incident was a horrific story of gross negligence. Following the flight, its return to Seattle, the heart was taken to a donor health center for tissue storage and was said to have been received within the required time frame. The newspaper added, Spanish law will be toughened to define any non-consensual sexual act as assault or rape instead of sexual abuse. Experts have decided. A panel of legal experts was set up by the government after protests when 5 men were cleared of raping a teenage woman. Judges ruled that the so-called wolf pack gang had not assaulted her. The panel will recommend that the maximum jail term for rape should remain 15 years. Spanish media report. The proposal is still being worked on. On 5 December, judges in the northern Navarre region upheld the decision to clear the 5 men in the case known as La Manada Wolf Pack. The case will now go to the Supreme Court. According to their ruling, the subject-year-old woman was not assaulted, as no intimidation or violence was involved. The man had had unprotected sex with her in a basement during Pamplona's bull running festival in July 2016. Under the current law, proof of violence or intimidation has to be presented for a case to be treated as rape. The new proposal, quoted by Spain's Europa Press news agency, calls for the maximum penalty in cases involving violence or intimidation against a victim in degrading circumstances, or when the victim is assaulted by two or more people. The subject-year maximum jail term for rape is the same as the maximum term for murder in Spain. The legal changes are also more specific about the types of sexual assault considered to be the worst. They include cases where a victim is especially vulnerable, for example assaulted by a parent or other authority figure, or where a weapon is used against the victim. Similarly,